Wow, Dr. Ho, I mean, I've really learned something interesting from you earlier. The part where hearing loss is the number one modifiable risk factor for cognitive decline.
Yes, and I think patients and their caregivers, when they hear this, they become more engaged.
Yeah.
And I think, and that's the whole point, right? When you treat an individual with hearing loss, it's important not to treat that individual, but to treat the entire family, because having a family member with hearing loss impacts the entire family.
Absolutely. I mean, that reminds me about my clinical experience as an audiologist in Australia. We don't call ourselves clinical audiologists. We actually call ourselves family audiologists, because, you know, we want to emphasize the point where it's not just important for us to get the buy-in from patients and hearing aid wearers themselves, but it's actually very important for us to get the buy-in, to get the agreement and the support from their next of kin, their family members, their friends, because it takes the whole unit, the whole functional group, you know, to get them to optimize the usage of their hearing aids. And in so doing, you know, it helps to reduce the risk of cognitive decline.
Yeah. Well, it's reassuring that things are no different in Australia, right? And in fact, what you just mentioned reminds me of this patient that I had. It's a gentleman in his 80s, and he was sort of like almost dragged in by his son in his 50s. And the son was practically begging me. You know, he was saying, "Hey, doc, you really need to help us, as in the family. We are looking after our dad, and he has dementia. But you know what's the worst thing? He's pretty deaf as well. And can you imagine how difficult it is to look after dad when, you know, he can't hear you?" And I think the sad thing about this patient, right, is that when we look through his medical records, we realize that 10, 15 years ago, he has been to see us already. And at that point, he already has quite advanced hearing loss. And the patient was still cognitively strong at that point.
Yeah.
But the patient was telling us back then that, "Doc, I want to wait till my hearing loss is bad enough before I accept hearing aids." But the sad thing is, by the time they wait till their hearing loss is bad enough, their brain may not be good enough to accept the hearing aid.
Yeah.
In fact, you know, with this gentleman, he was not cognitively able to understand why he needs hearing aids, let alone to get used to the hearing aid.
Oh.
And I think that's very sad. It's like almost for him, it's too late to wear hearing aids.
So it's actually bad enough becomes too late.
Yes. Yeah. So this thing about what you say about the hearing loss being a very important modifiable risk factor for dementia, that is one point. But the other side of the coin would be that dementia and cognitive decline, it would be a major obstacle to the treatment of hearing loss. If the patient does not have mental capacity to get used to the hearing aid, it's almost like it's too late to treat the hearing loss.
So it's kind of like a symbiotic relationship, right? And it's kind of, or we can say it like a chicken and egg analogy.
Yes.
You know, you can't hear well, it leads to cognitive decline. But if you have poor mental capacity, then it also affects the outcomes of your hearing.
Yes, completely. And I think it's when you can get the conversation with the family, with the patient to this level, I think this becomes a very powerful motivation for the patient and the family to accept the need for treating the hearing loss, and hopefully to treat it early before all the negative effect of hearing loss kicks in.
Absolutely right, Dr. Ho.